Hey everyone, welcome to today's video, and I know I'm looking a little bit strange right now because today we are talking old makeup habits. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I used to do my makeup, but now I've found different techniques and different shades, which I think complement me and my aging skin a little bit more. So if talking makeup habits sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please do keep on watching. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing what I used to do with my makeup on one side, and then on the other side, I'll be showing you how I have changed that habit. These are not supposed to be mistakes. I'm not sat here trying to tell you that how you're doing your makeup is wrong. These are just things that I used to do that I have now changed, and I think it has helped to improve my makeup. So on this side, I'm going to be doing how I used to do my makeup, and on this side, I'm going to be showing you how I improved them. I am not intentionally going to do this side badly. Okay, this is not supposed to be, oh, look what a mess this side is. It's just how I used to do things and how now I do things. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is skin prep. And I know a lot of you will be rolling your eyes because I seem to always bang on about skin prep, but it's so important and it's something that I never ever used to do. My idea of skin prep was throwing on a moisturiser, but now things are different for me. So I always start my makeup routine with a toner. Now, this is actually a repurchase for me. This is just the Caudalie Vinoclean toner. It's just a hydrating toner. I mix between using a hydrating toner, but I also love a glycolic acid toner, which is advisable to use maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And if you want to use an exfoliating toner, that's perfect. Also, they help to remove excess oils and unclog the pores, just getting your skin really ready for your makeup. So on my good side, I'm just going to go in with this Caudalie toner. I'm just going to pop some on a cotton pad and just wipe it over the area. You can just pop it into your hands as well. It really doesn't make a difference how you do it. And then I'm going to leave this with no prep. Next, I like to go in with a serum, and this is my favourite one. It's by Beauty Pie. You can go in with any serum, hyaluronic acid and niacinamide, depending on what your skin concerns are. This is just a firming serum. It's amazing. I have been through bottles and bottles and bottles of this. The only problem is Beauty Pie only delivers to certain countries, which is so annoying. I think it's just the UK and America. I can't even get it in Ireland. I have to wait until I go back home to the UK or someone comes to visit me. So I literally will just pop just a couple of drops, and these serums, any serum, will absorb really fast into the skin, and this serum just helps to plump out the skin and hydrate it. I could not be without a serum before I go in with my makeup, never. And again, I'm leaving this side with nothing on. A really important part of our faces to prep is under the eyes. I'm going in with this eye contour lifting cream by KTown. I've been trying this out recently. You don't have to get an expensive eye cream or an expensive eye serum. Now, I don't usually use eye creams in the morning, but this, it's definitely more of a serum-like consistency, and it absorbs literally within seconds. So I'm wondering if it is really just a serum, but they're calling it a cream. Why would they call it a cream though? And on this side, I'm going to use nothing because I never used to use an eye cream or an eye serum. And the reason that I would always advise using more of a serum is because serums penetrate deeper and faster, and they are full of active ingredients which help to hydrate, they help to plump, they help to depuff. Introducing a serum to your routine will be an absolute game changer. Then I lock all of this in with a moisturiser, and my favourite is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. You do not have to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. Any cream will do, any moisturiser. Now, I am going to go in on this side with a moisturiser because I always did use a moisturiser. So I'm going to go in on both sides with my moisturiser. And I like the Charlotte Tilbury one because it's a 3-in-1, so It's a moisturiser, it's a primer, and it has an SPF as well. Now, I would ordinarily go in with an SPF as well over this, but I'm not going to today just because we're doing a makeup demo, but in an ordinary day, I definitely would. And if you have oily skin, please do not think about skipping moisturiser. Skipping moisturiser can dehydrate the skin, and if your oily skin is dehydrated, it may trigger your sebaceous glands to produce even more oil to compensate. So oily or not oily, please moisturise your skin. Next, we are talking eyebrows. So eyebrows have always been a little bit traumatic for me because I don't have any. Obviously grew up in the 90s, plucked them all out, they never grew back. I've had very many sessions of microblading over the years. I've also had it laser removal to try and get rid of them. So yeah, it's just a mess. So I have to fake them. And I had a certain way of filling in my eyebrows, and I would fill them in this way all the time until I discovered a new way of doing them. So I'm going to start with my old habits first. And this is how I used to do my eyebrows. So I'm taking my Glossier Brow Flick. It's just a brow pen. And this is in the shade black. Now today is not about the products. Okay, this is not about the products. It's just about the techniques. So I would take my brow pen and I would literally just fill in from the bottom. So my old way of doing things would be to only fill in my brow from the bottom. I wouldn't go near the top. So fill in from the bottom, and that's how I would do them. Okay, so now I don't fill in from the bottom of the brow. I fill in from the top. And I spoke about this in my brow tutorial video, and I couldn't remember where I'd seen this, but I searched YouTube to try and find where I'd seen this tutorial, and it was actually by Stay Fabulous with Nisha, and I'm going to link her video below because she's obviously much better at makeup than what I am. She said that instead of filling in from the bottom of the brow, fill in from the top. So I'm going to, instead of going near the bottom of my brow, I'm just going to do light strokes and feather upwards, which feels so alien to do when you first do it. It doesn't feel right. So just using a really light hand with the brow pen and feathering the strokes in an upwards direction. This just helps to make the brow look a lot fuller than what it really is. And then I am going to continue and do a few little hair strokes just to extend the eyebrow a little bit. So that's the difference already in filling in from the top rather than the bottom. Can you see the difference there? I don't have any brow hairs, but by filling in from the top, not only have I made my eyebrows look fuller than what they are, I've also lifted the eyebrow, and when we get older, we need all the lifting that we can get. We do. And we're not done there. We're going to keep going with the eyebrow. So for years, I never touched an eyebrow holding product because I just thought, what's the point? I don't have any eyebrows. And then I realized that by using some sort of brow wax, it would actually help to make my eyebrows look fuller because the wax would cling on to those teeny tiny eyebrow hairs that you can't even see, and it will make them look a lot fuller. So I love the e.l.f. Brow Laminating Gel. It's my absolute favorite. So I'm not going to use anything on this side, but on this side, I am just going to brush up. So by using a wax, it will grab onto every teeny tiny hair that is invisible to your naked eye, and it will make your eyebrow look much more full. And to finish off the eyebrows, another thing that I never used to do was carve out my eyebrows. I would never do that. And the day that I did it for the first time, I realized how incredibly effective it was. So I'm taking a brush like this. This is just a really old Morphe brush. So very dense, very slim. So all I'm going to do is I'm taking a little bit of concealer. Doesn't matter what concealer, but I would say not a full coverage one, maybe just a serum type concealer. This is the Tower 28 Swipe Serum Concealer, and it's what I use to carve out my brows every every day. So I just pop a little bit on my hand and then I dip my brush in and then I literally just follow the bottom of the eyebrow just to give it some shape and definition. So there we go. That's how I used to do my eyebrows, genuinely. And this is how I do them now. This is how I fake my eyebrows. We're going to move on to eyes now, but I'm not going to spend too much time on the eyes. I think today is more about the rest of the face. However, there's one way that I have changed doing my eye makeup. So on this side, I am not going to prep my eyelid at all, and sometimes because I'm so lazy I won't do that still. Okay, so some of these habits I do still slip into, and it's not a bad thing. We don't always need to put 100% into our makeup, but on this side I am going to prep my eyelid, and I'm going to do it with the Urban Decay. This is the eyeshadow primer potion, so I am just going to pop some of that on the eyelid on this side. So while that primer sits on this eye for a moment, I'm going to go in on this eye with how I used to try and do my eye makeup. Now, I'm not going to do this eye badly. This is literally going to be how I used to do it when I didn't understand what my eye shape was. I didn't understand that my eyes were really far back in my head, and I didn't know, I know how, I didn't know that I had a protruding brow bone. You can see it from the side there. Can you see from the side there? You can see how far out my brow bone comes. I'm going to take, this is the Natasha Denona Glam face palette because it's got some really simple eyeshadows in here. Not that it matters what eyeshadows we're using today, because it doesn't. It's not what this is about. So I used to go in with a really big fluffy brush like this, and still do sometimes. This is the BK Beauty 212. And I'm going to dip into the transition. So the transition shade is supposed to be kind of between the crease and the brow bone. It's supposed to be kind of in this area. So I would just take that and just blend it. Not badly, not supposed to be bad. Just, this is how I would apply it with a big, huge, fluffy brush. So for this side, I am going in with the same shade and I'm going in the same area, but I'm going in with a smaller brush. This is the Zoeva 228 and it's really fluffy, but it's slightly slimmer and a little bit more dense. So it just gives me a bit more control. And honestly, it's only been recently that I've really started to think about which brush is genuinely best for a transition shade. So just doing the exact same thing on this side. Now this tip is not life-changing, but using a smaller brush just gives me better placement and it blends without over-blending. I found that using a big fluffy brush just made everything a little bit more washed out. So just a smaller brush softens the edges without losing that colour payoff. So not much of a difference in the transition, but for me, it just gives me more of a precise application with my transition shade. But the biggest change I've made is how I apply my crease shade. So I'm going to use the same brush for the crease on both sides because this isn't about the brush, but this is the Nikki LaRose N13 brush. That's not dirty, that is the colour of it. So now I'm going into the crease colour, which is just a deeper brown. And I used to just apply the crease shade into the crease. Now I know that sounds obvious, but when I look at my eye, my crease is already there. I already have a crease. So I was putting it into an area that you can't actually see because it's so far back in my head. I already have a crease. What's the point in putting that colour there? So I would like blend back and forth and then bring some on the outer corner. So again, I'm not intentionally doing things badly here, not at all. Now for this eye, I realised that I had to change where I put my crease shade. So there was no point in just putting it into the crease. Yes, I'm still going to put it into the crease, but I needed to bring it up further. So if you have eyes like me, deep set eyes, or if you have hooded eyes, this technique will help you so much. It will help to get your eyeshadow seen. So just dipping into the same shade, same brush, but this time I am going to look ahead and I'm going to go above my crease. Okay, so above, same backwards, forwards motion, same blending, but just above where my natural crease is. So it's a really subtle difference, but if you look at this eye and then compare it to how I used to do it, so really subtle difference, but it does make an impact on how your eyeshadow looks. I'm just going to finish off my eyes and then we're going to move on to the complexion. I just put a little bit of shimmer on the lids, and this is the eye when I didn't use primer, and this is the eye where I used a primer. I do think you can tell a difference, can't you? So yeah, very subtle, but subtle changes make a big difference. We're moving on to foundation now, and I think that when it comes to foundation, there's all sorts of things that you need to take into consideration. So undertone is massive, but we're not really going to talk about that today because that deserves its own video because it's such a huge and important thing to take into consideration. But today we're going to be talking shades. Now, you've seen on this channel that I still pick shades that are bad for me. Just look at my recent review on the Milk Skin Tint. That foundation was much too dark for me. But we don't need to just avoid foundations that are too dark or too orange. We need to avoid foundations that are too light for us too. Sometimes I think that a foundation that is too light is often worse than a foundation that is too dark. I have one foundation. Now this does oxidize, but this is the ordinary Serum foundation and this is in 1.2 light neutral. I bought this to mix with another shade. I want to show you what it looks like when it's first on. So you see there how it just doesn't suit me, but I'm just going to rub that in because I found that that's the best way to apply this foundation is with your fingers. Now, the other thing that I used to do, as well as choosing a foundation that was just too light for me, is I would bring foundation underneath my eyes, okay, all the way under. And I would put a lot of foundation on. So although I can get away with this shade if I really, really needed to, it doesn't look great, does it? You know, compared to this side of my face. So on this side of my face, I'm going to apply a foundation that suits my skin tone better. And I'm not going to bring it underneath my eyes, okay? Because that's where I use concealer. So on this side, I'm going to go in with my L'Oreal True Match. This is a Super-Blendable foundation, and I have this in the shade 3N. I'm going to take a brush this time, my BK Beauty 101. I'm just going to dip into it and I'm just going to blend it on this side. Okay, so this is the correct foundation shade for me. This is not bad. It's not a bad makeup look, and you can change things up with bronzer or contour, but this just looks softer. It just looks more flattering. And because I prepped this side of my face, it looks smoother. On this side, I can see settling into pores and I can see a little bit of dryness because I didn't fully prep this side of my face. Okay, so we're going to move on to concealer now, and this is definitely a habit that I used to do and still do sometimes. So the first thing I would do is pick a concealer that was way too light for me. So this is the Essence Stay All Day Long Lasting Concealer, and this is in the shade Neutral Beige. So I would apply concealer. Now remember, I applied foundation on this side underneath my eye too. I used to apply concealer all the way up like this, because that's how I thought I would get the most amount of coverage. So taking my BK Beauty A506, and then I'm just going to blend that in. Remember, I'm blending here over foundation. So just blending it in. And I have got a good amount of coverage there, but it is quite light. So on this side, I'm going to use a concealer that is more appropriate to my skin tone. So I'm going in with the Fenty Wear Even Hydrating Concealer. This is in the shade 240. I used to think this was too light for me, this shade, but it's really not. So for my application for this, I have a little bag under eye hollow, and I'm just going to place some concealer in here and then just a bit here. Now, I don't always apply my concealer like this because I told you I'm lazy, and a lot of these habits I will still do, and I guess it's because the under eye hollows don't really bother me that much, to be honest. They used to, but they don't anymore. But if you want to focus on bags or under eye hollows, then this technique will work for you. I actually have a whole video dedicated to this. I will link it for you in the description box, and I'll link it for you here. We are going to take the BK Beauty N16 brush, which is slightly tapered at the end there, and I'm only going to blend that concealer into the eye bag, the eye hollow, because that's where I need it. I'm not bringing it all the way up to my lash line where all of my fine lines are. That's what I used to do here. I used to bring the concealer all the way up and then just blend it into that dip. Now you can obviously add more. There's no issue. It's always better to start with a bit and then add, because it's very hard to take away. So just concentrating that there in that area. So by avoiding that area directly under the lash line, you are avoiding all those teeny tiny fine lines that you have. You will avoid that crepiness and creasing. So there's the difference. So now this eye's worse anyway than this eye, but you can see that this shade is much better. This is starting to look crepey because I've got foundation and concealer on over here. So it just looks much better already. So when it comes to setting the eye, on this side, we are going to use a powder puff to set our eyes. Now I had to really search for a powder puff because I don't have them, I don't use them. So I found a Fluorasis one that I have, so this will be a really good one. And I'm going to go in with my Huda Beauty Easy Bake. I'm going to bring that powder in this whole area. Powdering that whole area will just make that naturally dry under eye look even drier. It might look good from a distance, but not when you are close up. It looks drier and more wrinkly. But on this side, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to be a little bit more strategic with my powdering. So instead of bringing it along my whole eye, I'm going to dip in with a brush like this. So this is just a really old Morphe brush. You see the shape of it. So instead, I'm going to take the powder, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just press the powder into the bag, into the under eye hollow. I'm not bringing it all the way up because I don't need it there. And actually, I would advise you to avoid bringing powder here because that area moves. So the area that moves is going to crease. And if you're going to put powder near areas that crease, then you're going to get creasing. And that's how that looks. And that's how that looks. This isn't bad. It's not bad at all. But if you were to see me up close now, you would see how dry that looks. So another thing that I never, ever, ever used to do was contour. Never, ever. Why? Because I was afraid. I was afraid of it. And the only contours that I used to see people using on YouTube were powder contours, and they just scared me. And then I discovered cream contours. Now, I don't always contour because sometimes I just bronze. I very rarely contour and bronze together. But today I just want to talk about the benefits of using a little bit of contour. So I'm going to show you with my Westman Atelier contour stick in the shade Biscuit. And I'm only going to contour on this side just so that you can see the difference that it can make, and it's really, really subtle. So the whole point of contour is that we follow the natural structure of our face, but it's great in order to give you that little bit of lift to the face. And let's be honest, as we age, we need that extra bit of lift. So I'm just going to dip my BK Beauty 112 into the stick, and I'm just going to start here. But we're going to blend down following the bone of our cheek. You don't need to suck your cheeks in Just follow that bone and blend, and always blend up rather than down because you're trying to lift. So just avoid sucking in your cheeks. You actually want to place the contour above that area in order to lift. Aim for just on the bone, not underneath it. So you can also use the contour to contour parts of the forehead. I have to be really careful on the forehead because I have hyperpigmentation, but just making sure that you blend into the hairline. So I used to contour my temples, but look at my temples. They go in. Can you see? They go in. If I put contour on my temples, they're going to look even more sunken than what they are. So I don't bronze my temples. I don't contour my temples. So just here, and if you like, you can do a little bit here. So kind of this area. You kind of have to make a double chin to do this. And then blend down. So again, that just gives the face just a little bit more definition. You can see the difference between the two. When I used to wear blush, I would literally just pick any blush that I fancied on that day. Nowadays, I'm a little bit more conscious of what blush I use, and I like to use a blush that matches my eyeshadow and also matches my lip color. So I like my eyes, my lips, and my blush to be cohesive. So on my eyes today, we've gone for quite a warm toned look, kind of neutral warm. And so I want my blush and my lips to reflect that. So on this side, I'm going to pick quite a cool toned blush and quite a cool toned lip. And on this side, I'm going to go more neutral warm. And then you can have a look and see if you think it affects the final look. So on this side, I'm going to go in with quite a vibrant blush. This is the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush, and this is in the shade Coming In Hot Pink. So I'm going to go in with my Rare Beauty blush, and I'm just going to tap into it, and I'm going to go in on my Old Habit side. My skin feels so dry on this side. And I think you can already see here how the cool tone of the blush is conflicting with the warmer eyeshadow. I'm really not applying this badly. My skin is just really dry on this side. So let's just spend a bit of time blending, shall we? You can see how cool that is, and it just contrasts with my eye makeup. I would also then go in with quite a cool toned lip. So I'm going in with the MAC Cool Spice lip liner. And then I'm going in with MAC Cool Teddy, which is one of my favorites. So you can see I've got a cool toned cheek, a cool toned lip, and a warm toned eye. On this side, I'm going way more neutral with my blush. I'm going in with my Hourglass Unreal Liquid Blush in the shade Scene. Now my hand is covered in blush, but you can see how much more neutral and soft that shade is. So I'm going to go in with my BK Beauty N17 brush, and I'm just going to tap into that and just pop it here. And when I apply my blush, I tend to apply it much further up than I used to. Again, this just gives the cheek a lot more lift. Now, if I had a cool toned eye look today, I wouldn't be going for this blush. I would be going for something a little bit more like this. So on this side, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in the shade Pinky Swear. I think it is described as a beige pink. And on this side, I'm going to go in with the YSL Love Shine Lip Oil, and this is in the shade 201. So here is the final result. So on the new side, I feel like the makeup is much more cohesive in the shades that I've used. I feel like it's softer. It's definitely more hydrated. It's less cakey. It's less dry. And it's much more flattering on my mature skin. So that's it. Again, this is not supposed to be this side is terrible and this side is great, because this side is definitely not going to be for everybody. I just find that this side is a little bit softer, it's a little bit more flattering, and it's not as harsh and contrasting as it is on this side. And I'm not for 1 minute saying that this side is perfect. It just feels better and looks softer, a little bit more lifted, especially the eyebrows. I literally couldn't believe the difference when I started to do my eyebrows like this. So it's just whatever you are comfortable with. As we mature, sometimes we just need to change up how we do things. It's not a bad thing. Don't see change and adjustments as a bad thing, because it's not. And if you feel more comfortable in doing your makeup how you used to do it 10 years ago, then oh my gosh, go for it. However and whatever makes you feel more comfortable, because the opinion of anybody else does not matter. The only person's opinion that matters about you is from you. So don't let anybody tell you that you're doing anything wrong. So I would love to hear your feedback on makeup habits. Is there anything that you've changed in the last few years, or if there's anything that you think you might want to change moving forward? Let us know everything down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I so appreciate you being here with me. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video. But until then, take care and bye for now.